I want to talk about is fine by me, 503-248-0620, and you can find me on social media at Chad in Rip City. But I'm very happy to go to the phones. We're going to kick the show off with a guest today to talk about one of my favorite events of the year, and it's coming up later this month, July 26th. I'm talking about 2026 Pup City. Puppy Shots and I have done the last two events, and it's a great setup for you to be able to get out in the wonderful sunshine here in the Northwest and enjoy a morning with your dog and everyone else who's a part of Rip City who decides to bring their dog. And it's a great walk, especially for Puppy Shots being a wiener dog. He's got the short legs, so he's not built for long distance. So this is a good short walk where we can have a chance to get together as a community and enjoy ourselves. And joining us right now to talk about it, from your Portland Trailblazers, someone who has helped putting the event together. I'm talking about Austin Bergquist, who joins us right now. Austin, good afternoon. Thanks for taking time to join the show.
Chad, my friend, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I love Pup City, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But I was wondering if I could ask you a question and have you kind of
Sure.
peel back the curtain just a bit, being on the sales side and understanding the importance of the community and what they're looking for from the Trailblazers. Go back to last year when you got word and we got the news that Damian Lillard was making a return and coming back to Portland. For the people you spoke to, the fans and the season ticket holders and people who love the team, how excited was everyone and were the phones blowing up?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Dame coming back is probably as close that we've gotten to tasting what it was like when Michael Jordan sent that memo over to the NBA and said, I'm back with the Chicago Bulls, right? Like, Dame coming back to Portland is like Michael Jordan coming back to the Bulls after he retired and tried baseball for a little bit. Dame coming back to us is as exciting as it gets. So to have him around the team last year and have the season that we had, best season in 5+ years with Denny being into an all-star and, the development of Tabani and Donovan Clingan, and then heading into next year with Dame back and Mike and Nori on board and then adding John Morant, yeah, not only Dame coming back, of course, that's so exciting, but just where the team's going in general, I think has everyone on our side really excited and our fans really excited as well.
It's funny. I'll tell you a story. So the golf course where I golf at frequently, his cousin worked at the course, and I knew him well. And so last year I went in, and we were all trying to figure out what Dame was going to do. And this is after we got word, about the injury and the rehab. And my thought was, he'll take some time off and kind of survey the land and make a choice that's best for him and his family and the rest of his career. And his cousin kind of looked at me and he kind of smiled and he said, I think he's going to wind up with the Trailblazers. And I thought he was just pulling my leg. And I looked back now and I realized that he knew what was going on and he was trying to tell me without telling me. And I just didn't catch the tea leaves there. So it's pretty awesome. But Austin, I appreciate taking the time to join the show. And I love Pup City. I think it's a great event. So give us the details. This year, it's going to be on a Sunday. It's going to be July 26th. And this is nice because it's a 1.3K dog walk and everyone is invited, correct?
Correct. Yeah, everyone's invited. And you nailed it. July 26th, starting at 9 a.m. is when you can check in. It's not a long walk like you mentioned, 1.3. So if you have a low rider like you do, I've added another low rider like you have one to my family since then. We added another little Basset Hound to our family. So it's perfect for all dogs, not only the small ones like we have, but big ones as well. It's probably be a little hot during the day, but we've got a ton of cooling stations, lots of water for them, 30+ vendors. Different than the last couple Pup Cities that we've done. We not only have a walk at 10 a.m., but if you want to sleep in and maybe come for the 11 a.m. walk, you're not going to miss anything. We have the raffle taking place at 11:30 as well, just a compilation of different things that our vendors are going to be donating as well. So, yeah, 9 o'clock start time, July 26th. You're definitely going to want to be there. It's going to be a great time.
All right, so if I heard you correctly, then you've got not one but two walks. So one at 10, one at 11, and then the raffle will be at 11:30. So you can pick or choose, or
Correct.
You can take part in both walks if you want, I guess.
You can, of course, yeah. If you want to take part in both, you're more than welcome. Again, and if you don't want to take part in the walk at all, and if maybe you've got a dog that kind of is more so interested in gathering treats and toys, and maybe taking a spin at the obstacle course that we'll have set up, that works as well. So, yeah, 10 o'clock and 11 o'clock will be the walk times, but check-in starts at 9.
You know what's cool about it? You mentioned the vendors, and a couple of years ago I went down and we were taking a look around at some of the different vendors who were there after the walk, and I did not know that some of these different tools are available, but there was a company there who was showcasing dog seats for the car. And I didn't even know that they made those. And so I had a chance to take a look at them, and what a perfect idea. But I like some of the different vendors that are down there, because you may end up finding something during the walk or after the walk where you're like, hey, I could use that for the home, or this might be good for my dog. And I like having access to that type of information.
100%. Yeah. And you're referring to Tavo, who's our great partner for this event. They're once again our presenting partner for this event as well. But yeah, along with them, the 30 plus vendors that we'll have, every single one of them is super diverse. Everyone is different and diverse, from Wild Pup Adventures. This is a company that'll take pups out during the day. They'll let you go to work, and they'll take your dog on an adventure during the day, whether that be on a kayak or a hike on the mountain, to Brooklyn Yard Veterinary Hospital. So it kind of just depends on, who you're looking for or what you're looking for, but you'll probably find it at Pup City. We've got a really good range of vendors that'll be joining us. And of course, One Tail at a Time is our nonprofit partner, where a portion of each registration will be going back to them. They'll have an adoptable dog at the event as well. I've mentioned it on your show specifically before, Chad, but I got my dog at Pup City from One Tail at a Time. So yeah, tons of great vendors. All of them do something a little different. And if you're looking for someone new to get your dog involved with, you'll probably find them at our event.
Yeah, I love One Tail at a Time. Is one of my favorite, organizations in town in terms of the work that they do. And I love some of their core values, Austin. And I love that you guys are donating back to them, but their compassion for animals and humans who care for them. They say they believe in respecting the dignity of all living beings and aim to create a positive, kind, and empathetic and inclusive environment. And they have a commitment to humane quality of care, using science-based welfare standards to consider and address the needs of animals as individuals. I love that, man, because especially here in Portland, we're like, we care about animals and we love our dogs.
Yes, 100%. We love our dogs. We love our Blazers. And One Tail at a Time has really helped us kind of merge those two together into this annual event every summer that we are very fortunate to get to put on.
All right, we're talking with Austin Bergquist about Pup City 2026, which is coming up on July 26th. People will start gathering down at the Rose Quarter campus at 9, with 2 different walks at 10 and 11. I guess we should also mention, Austin, some of the things that are set up, which is really nice. The local vendors, which are going to be there offering different things for your pets, but also there's going to be food and drinks on hand. DJ OG1 is also going to be playing the music, which is awesome. The raffles, as you mentioned, and also an obstacle course with games for both dogs and humans, and the cooling stations. But it really is a good event, I would say, not just for your dogs or for the animals, but for the entire family, for kids as well.
100%. Yeah. And it's a super family friendly environment. To your point, we'll have an obstacle course. We'll have cooling stations. We'll have a few different other activations that'll be going on as well that you can, that'll take up some of your time at the event, which is great. Boop Club pet portraits will be there. Some of your listeners might have seen them online or on the news as well. They've gone a little bit viral, setting up dog portraits in different parks throughout Portland. They will be there taking photos of dogs that are there. We'll also have Portland Animal Massage as well. So if your dog's a little stressed, maybe there's a lot of other dogs going on and they need to just calm down a little bit, they'll be giving out free massages at the event. So yeah, we've got a ton going on, lots of stuff for not only your family to take a look at. If you guys want to grab some crepes at Northeast Creperie, want to grab a coffee at Country Coffee, there will be tons going on for you to spend your time on that Sunday morning.
So Austin, how many dogs do you and your family have now?
We have 2. So we have a Basset Hound. We have 2 Basset Hound mixes. Odie is 3. He's a Basset Pit Bull mix. And then Hopper, who we just got, is a Basset Lab mix. So 2 very different personalities. They lean on the Basset side. They love to sleep, but they both have a lot of energy. And trust me, they are both very stubborn.
Yeah, no doubt. I love that. So what is the best way for people to register for Pup City?
Yeah, so you can go to nba.com/blazers/Pup City and go online there. Again, it'll have all the information. You can click register now, and it'll take you to the registration page to go ahead and do so. Again, it'll have the run of show. 9 a.m. is the check-in time with that first walk starting at 10. Registration is great, $17 is going to be the registration price, with, of course, a portion of that going back to One Tail at a Time. And then, yeah, we'll send all the information. Another super important thing to note, but when you show up to Pup City, not only do you get access to all the great vendors and all the fun activities that we got going on, you also receive a custom Trailblazers Pup City bandana for your pup, along with a Pup City tote bag as well. So tons going on, fun giveaways that you get in your registration. All of it on July 26th, starting at 9 a.m.
All right, great. Austin Bergquist is with us from the Trailblazers. Pup City 2026 is coming up in just a few weeks. July 26th, people will start gathering at the Rose Quarter campus at 9 a.m. 2 walks, one at 10 and one at 11, and it's just 1.3K walks. So it's short enough for, as Austin said, the lowriders like our dogs, where they can go out there and have a good time. Just go to trailblazers.com or nba.com/blazers/Pup City, and you can register right now. Well, Austin, I appreciate you, my friend. I'm excited about the event. I know you and I are going to talk one more time about it here in a couple of weeks to get everyone ready for it coming up on the 26th, but I can't wait, and I appreciate you shedding the light.
Yeah, no, sir. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it. We'll chat here again in a couple of weeks. Go register for Pup City. We'd love to have you there.
All right. Thanks, Austin. Have a great weekend, buddy.
All right, Chad. Thank you.
All right, there you go. It's pretty simple. Pup City, right there at the Rose Quarter campus. And look, my buddy Tony out in Boring, he's got a gigantic dog. My dog is very little, miniature dachshund. So I like the short walks, and it's perfect for puppy shots because, you walk the route a couple of times, and you can come in and cool off, and Shots likes to check things out. He's not much for some of the dogs. He's not the most social, but he likes to check things out. He loves people. So I just encourage you to come down and hang out. I'll be down there. And I'm going to take part in the 10 o'clock walk, and I'll be down there bumping around. So it'd be great to see you, but register and get things going. And the good part about it is it's not going to take up a lot of your day. So if you get down there at around 9 and you do the walk, you'll be done in less than 2 hours. And $17, $5 of that's going to go back to One Tail at a Time. So this is a good event benefiting a great organization. But more importantly, it gives us a good chance to get out, enjoy some time together. I looked at the extended forecast, and I don't have it all the way up to the 26th yet, but basically every day between now and the 23rd is spectacular. Somewhere between 78 and 90 and sunshine. And this is that time of year where I don't even look at the forecast. I just wake up, hit the golf course, and the weather's awesome. I mean, you got to love it. You got to absolutely love it. So Pup City, go to nba.com/blazers/Pup City, or just Google search Pup City and it pops right up. And register and be there. I'll be there. We can hang out. We can take pictures of each other's dogs. And it's just a good time. So I hope to see you there. And big thanks to Austin Bergquist. All right, so RipCityDrive coming in a little bit late today because of the World Cup. So at 4:20, Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join us. We'll get his take. I would imagine, if I had to guess, he's probably been wagering on World Cup, so we'll get a take on what he's doing there. We're also nearing the start of football camps. I want to get his take on the piece that was written about Sean Payton. We'll see if he read that and what his takeaway was from the crazy, maniacal nature of Sean Payton and how competitive he is. I still can't believe that Seth Wickersham, said that he hired armed guards who brought into the facility $500,000 cash and the Lombardi Trophy because he wanted to show his players what they were playing for. Who does that? And not only that, but how big of a pile is $500K? That's a pretty big stack of cash right there. So that's pretty cool. I like that approach. I like the mindset. It's like, hey, we're playing for something here. A chance to be immortalized by winning a championship, getting a Lombardi, and oh, by the way, you're going to get some bonus money too. You can make it rain, $500,000. That's pretty awesome. Unfortunately, Bo Nix cracked his ankle at the end of the Bills game, and everything else went down the drain. So Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio 420. We will talk with Brad Botkin. He is my favorite NBA analyst. I just want to get his take on the Ja Morant deal. I'm still trying to wrap my dome around the fit. I love the value in return. I mean, the Blazers got rid of Jeremy Grant's contract and Chris Murray and did not have to attach a draft pick to that. I mean, the conventional wisdom was to get rid of Jeremy Grant's contract at that price. You're going to have to attach a pick. But no, you're able to find a taker and you get a distressed asset, which is very Tom Dundon-like, to get someone like Ja Morant, who's got a lot of potential upside and still young and has been a two-time All-Star and has great talent. And I'll mention this again because the majority of people I talk to around town, when they hit me up about the Blazers and they start talking about Ja. Most of them are concerned about Ja's, the off the court stuff with the guns and the issues he's had, the suspensions. But as I mentioned before, I called a couple of people I know who work within the Grizzlies organization. And my only question was not what they thought about the trade, but was what do you know about Ja's off the court stuff of late? Is he getting better? Are they still having the same issues? Like, what's the latest? What do you know? And what I was told from the people I know is that Ja apparently is making better choices in terms of the people that are in his inner circle, who he's rolling with. And that's a very good sign. It's a sign of maturity. And I think I would imagine a lot of you guys out there who are my age, my dad was always big on reminding me that you are who you roll with, essentially. Meaning that if you hang out with a certain crowd, regardless of how good you try to be, some people are going to pull you down. So just be careful in the company that you keep. And he also talked about how, three's a crowd sometimes. If you're rolling in a group of three, that can be a bit of a crowd. Two's perfect, three's a crowd. Sometimes there can be some dynamics there, but mostly it was about who you roll with. Just keep in mind the company that you keep and pay attention to what's going on. And so I think for Ja, he's young. So, I mean, that's why I'm excited about Ja, because I think he's got a chance to make better decisions, through maturity, through learning from some of the mistakes. I mean, when I was young, I'm older now. I'm still dumb. I still make mistakes. But at that age, if I was given a pile of cash like him, it would be hard to keep perspective. You misstep, you make a couple of mistakes, you get in trouble, you get suspended. I'm a big believer in second chances. Do I think that Ja can change? Absolutely. So let's give him a clean slate and let him see what he can do here. I also like the fact that he's got some strong personalities, good leadership in that locker room. Guys find a better guy in the NBA than Drew Holiday. You're not going to find one. Damian Lillard, strong personality in that locker room. Denny Avdi is a good dude. A lot of these guys are no nonsense and handle their business the right way, which I like. All right, 503-248-0620. Brian Noe coming up at 420. You got the Rip City Drive right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, if you want to jump on board, I'll take your phone calls here in just a moment. 503-248-0620. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, coming up at 4:20. We'll talk some ball with him. We'll get into the jaw trade and what's next for the Blazers. Brad Botkin is going to join us coming up at 5:20. I also want to get his take on where he thinks LeBron James is going to end up. So Brad Botkin at 5:20. I just saw this report from Shams, and he says developing the Los Angeles Clippers Toronto Raptors trade centered on Kawhi Leonard will not be complete until the NBA investigation into the Clippers is over. And the statement from the Clippers sent over to ESPN, Shams reported this: for the past 10 months, our organization has fully cooperated with an NBA investigation, participating in dozens of interviews, providing tens of thousands of documents, and facilitating access to our staff. While the process has been challenging, we have remained committed to transparency. Now, on June 30th, we reached an agreement in principle to trade Kawhi Leonard to the Raptors. We have since been informed that the trade can only be finalized if the Raptors ownership group assumes the risk of penalties related to Kawhi's contract that could theoretically result from the ongoing investigation. The investigation is ongoing, and we expect the trade to be finalized following its conclusion. At the heart of this investigation are Joe Sandberg and aspiration. We did not funnel money to Kawhi Leonard through aspiration. Like many sophisticated investors, financial institutions, and business partners, we were victims of a fraud initiated by Sandberg, who has been convicted and sentenced to 14 years in prison. We recognize the uncertainty this has created and the impact it has had on our team, our fans, the Raptors organization, their fans, and the players whose future remains affected while this process continues. We remain confident that when the facts are evaluated fairly and thoroughly, the NBA will confirm exactly what we have said from the beginning. We have not done what we are accused of doing. So there you go. That's the latest. So the trade's on hold. The Clippers are confident it's going to get done, but there's no question that the whole situation with that aspiration company is very fishy, very, very fishy, where Kawhi Leonard was being funneled a lot of money to do basically no work for them. And that was a company that was heavily involved with the Clippers. That's a pretty easy way to circumvent the salary cap, something that is a big no-no in sports, right? Every team has a salary cap that you have to adhere to, and there are penalties for going over the first and the second apron. And it can really hamper your ability and flexibility to do other deals. So if you got these rich owners who are just giving, bonus stacks of cash on the side or through a different company, they're circumventing the cap. So that's what the NBA is investigating right now. And that's what the Clippers are accused of doing. And I mean, hey, we know what these owners are thinking, right? It's like, I'll do whatever you need. Just re-sign with the team. I'll hook you up on the side. I could see how easy and tempting it would be to do that. I mean, heck, I thought for years, like if there was no salary cap or any restraints on spending, Paul Allen would have single-handedly bought a championship. It's like, you need my money? If you need me to spend a big stack of cash to get this player or that player, I'll do whatever it takes. But you can't do it that way, unfortunately. And the NBA now, especially with the second apron and the way they've set it up with the recent CBA, the damage is punitive when you get into the second apron. Like the NBA has purposely gone out of their way to prevent a team like the Warriors forming again. They don't want super teams. They want parity. And look at what we have right now. 8 different champions over the last 8 years? Now, part of the reason I think why we love the NFL is because of the parity. Any given Sunday, right? Any team can win. That's what they always say. But the fact that you have a chance, there's an opportunity where you can have an off year but rebound and have a chance to go out and compete the next year. There's usually always a team in the NFL that missed the playoffs the previous season that jumps back into the postseason. Parity. And the NBA's got that now. I just can't believe it because when I was growing up, it was, teams would go back-to-back frequently. The Lakers went back-to-back in 87 and 88. Then the Pistons went back-to-back in 89 and 90. The Chicago Bulls went on a three-peat. Then the Houston Rockets went back-to-back. And then the Bulls went on another three-peat. I mean, you see the pattern? I mean, there were teams that formed and won multiple championships or went back-to-back for decades, but not anymore. I mean, like the Knicks are coming off a championship run. The Nuggets won a title. The Celtics, we're getting a good mixture and combination. That's what the NBA wants. So they definitely don't want teams like the Clippers trying to circumvent the cap. 503-248-0620. Don't forget the Blazers will begin their summer league play coming up tomorrow at 8 against the Suns down in Vegas. And for me, really the only thing to watch is young Hansen. I'm not a big summer league guy. The game itself is not really appealing unless there's like a superstar phenom out there that I want to see in action, that's playing and I haven't had a chance to see before. I will pay attention to young Hansen. I just want to watch his processing more than anything else. Is he moving quicker? Is he being more decisive in his decision-making? How does he look in the drop coverage on defense? Is he showing, more strength, with his body? I think the overall, or what surprised me the most was just the overall operation. Like compared to what he was doing in the Chinese Basketball Association, how slow he moved in the NBA in his first year. Not surprising, because that adjustment going from the CBA into the NBA, he's playing a different type of a different athlete, going up against different athletes, the best of the best. So the game's going to move quicker. He's going to see athletes he's never seen before going up against him. But I just want to see the decision-making. Is it more decisive? Are we seeing better movement on the floor, more decisive? And then defensively, can he be in the right spot to be a problem? He's never going to be the perfect defender because of his size and what happens when he gets pulled away from the basket. It's the same issue that all the bigs, Rudy Gobert, Donovan Clingan, the key is try to get those guys away from the basket defending in space. You get them around the rim where they can protect the rim, and you've got to account for that body, and they can be a shot blocker. It's a different issue. Not everyone can move like Victor Wembanyama. But even for Victor, when you get him away from the basket, not the same type of player. And we saw Karl Anthony Towns have success, putting the ball on the floor and being able to drive past him. So I'm going to watch Hansen and the process, and we'll see how things go from there. But outside of that, we'll wait for camp to arrive, and then, we'll see about the internal development, namely with guys like Denny Avdia, Tamani Kamara, Scoot Henderson, and Shaden Sharp, and whether or not, they're able to continue to make strides. Keep in mind, we talk about internal development, and a lot of people just, they don't want to hear it, but the reality is it worked last year. Scoot, when he came back from injury, was a better player. Donovan Clingan improved in every aspect of his game in year number 2. And so I'm anxious to see what type of strides can be made. And my biggest hope this year, regardless of how many minutes they play, I just hope that Shaden and Scoot are healthy throughout the course of the season so they can have a full season at health, being able to play consistent minutes, and then over the course of the season, you start to have a better idea as a team what you have in both those guys that were both taken, big time in the lottery, top 10 picks. Who are they? How good are they? What type of data can you collect? I mean, to me, that's critical. Got to be able to figure that out. The problem is now with the logjam of guards, I just don't know how many minutes are going to be able to go around, because I'm assuming we're going to see, Dame and Ja starting in the backcourt, or Dame and Drew. Dame is definitely starting. There's no question about that. The question is who's he going to start next to? We'll have to wait and see. All right, 503-248-0620. Pat, I want to keep you there, and we'll get you when we come back at the top. I don't want to rush you on the phone call. So 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can jump on board. Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, is going to join me at 4:20, and I'll get to your phone calls coming up next. It's a beautiful day. I hope you're enjoying your Thursday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, now 4 o'clock chat here. The Trailblazers will kick off their Summer League action tomorrow night in Las Vegas at the Pavilion. They'll meet the Suns. Tip-off at 8. It's on ESPNU. We're going to talk NBA with Brad Botkin at 5:20 and get his take on the Ja Morant deal, which lands him in Portland with the Trailblazers. According to Shams, the Kawhi Leonard trade with the Clippers and Raptors on hold as the NBA continues their investigation into aspiration and if the Clippers tried to circumvent the cap. World Cup action. France advances in World Cup play 2-0 over Morocco. Spain and Belgium meet tomorrow at noon in Los Angeles at SoFi. That game will be heard right here on Rip City Radio 620 with the pregame starting at 11:30. Right now, top of the second in Miami. Mariners and Marlins are scoreless. Bottom of the second in Detroit. The Athletics and Tigers are scoreless. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio, going to join me coming up at 4:20. I don't know how, but the Mariners still have a half-game lead in the AL West in front of the Rangers. 2 games in front of the Astros. Now, Seattle just struggling along at 47 and 46. And when you watch them play, you would get the indication just by seeing them with your own eyes, they are a 500 ball club right now. I mean, they have got to find a way to get things rolling in the second half, or at least I hope that that's the case. Telephone number 503-248-0620. If you want to jump on board, I'll go to the phones here in just a moment. I think I'll do a deeper dive into this coming up tomorrow. I don't know if you saw this, but there was a group of writers for, I think, ESPN, and they put together, they did a little poll. They kind of voted on this, but it's pretty interesting, and they listed out their top 10 coaches in college football, which is pretty sweet. But Dan Lanning lands at number 5. And I just enjoyed reading that because, you know, the Ducks, in my lifetime since I moved out here, just to see the transition and trajectory of the program and where they're at today is pretty impressive. So I'll do a deeper dive on it. Curt Cignetti, no surprise, is number 1. 46-6 overall, 27-2 at Indiana. He got 5 of the 10 first-place votes. He is the first head coach to win a national championship within his first 2 seasons at a school since Gene Chizik did it back in 2010 in his second season at Auburn. And you remember what we learned last year from talking to all the different experts on the show. Cignetti is so good at being able to identify players that fit, you know, the way he wants to play and gets them into his program, and then he coaches them up, like really coaches them up. They were so disciplined, too. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. They were great in situational football and just a tough football team. I respect the heck out of the way they played last year. Curt Cignetti's awesome. And he's crazy, too. Really good coach. Kirby Smart, number 2. Not a surprise. He's got some pretty good numbers. 117 wins are the second most by a head coach in their first 10 seasons in major college football history. Aside from Penn's George Woodruff, who had 124 from 1892 to 1901. Kirby Smart's awesome. Ryan Day is 3rd. Marcus Freeman is 4th. Interesting. He's 43-12, all at Notre Dame as a head coach. He has 5 bowl wins since 2022, which was his first full season at Notre Dame, the most among FBS head coaches during that span. Notre Dame and Indiana are the only 2 programs to have a 10-game win streak in each of the past 2 seasons. That's impressive, too. Dan Lanning at number 5. And I got to give the Ducks credit. Rob Mullins. No one even mention the name Dan Lanning until there was a report out of Georgia that he was being sought out by the Ducks. And the majority of people locally here, they all wanted someone within the Ducks family. And Mullins went out and grabbed Dan Lanning from Georgia. And just look at all the different states that they're recruiting from now across the country. His ability to go out, these tentacles now that come out from the recruiting arm at Oregon, being able to reach across the country. They've done a great job of developing their brand. Their facilities, obviously, are top-notch. They got the connection with Nike. Their NIL department is very organized and very well-funded. But aside from NIL, Dan Lanning is recruiting the heck out of the country. But here's what they say about Dan Lanning. Right now, he's 48-8. He's got an .857 winning percentage at Oregon, the only place where he's been a head coach. And the numbers to know, according to ESPN, Ducks are 48-8 since Lanning took over in 2022. Tied with Ohio State for the second highest winning percentage, .857 in the FBS during that span. Georgia, the only team that's higher at 51-6 and .895 winning percentage. In the past 3 seasons, the Ducks are 1-5 against the teams that ended up in the national title game and 37-0 against everybody else. Lanning has led Oregon to 10 or more wins in all 4 seasons since taking over as head coach from 2015 to 2021. Oregon had 2 10-win seasons. That's pretty darn good. And one of the people who voted in the poll were asked, you were one of the 2 voters that ranked Lanning at number 3. What do you like most about the 5th-year head coach? And this is from Eli Letterman. He says, Lanning and Oregon do everything a college football program needs to do to compete at an elite level in 2026. Roster retention. The Ducks didn't lose a single projected starter in the transfer portal. They kept quarterback Dante Moore out of the NFL draft and held on to their entire starting defensive line this offseason. Transfer success. Oregon consistently identifies value and bolsters its roster via the portal. For example, Bear Alexander, Malik Benson, Dylan Gabriel, Evan Stewart, and Dylan Tenneman. High school recruiting. Lanning has delivered a top 5 class in all 4 cycles since he took over in Eugene. That's pretty good. That matches the Big Ten and Ohio State and their count of 6 5-star signees over that span. Elite staffing, former Lanning assistants, Kenny Dillingham's now at Arizona State, head coach. Tosh Lapoy at Cal and Will Stein at Kentucky are 3 of the most highly regarded young head coaches in the sport. On the field, Lanning owns a better career winning percentage, 85.7%, than every coach ranked ahead of him on this list outside of Ryan Day. And the Ducks have progressively gone one step further in every season under his watch, from the Holiday Bowl in 22 to a college football playoff semifinal last fall. Sure, we're still waiting for Oregon to finally win the big one and fully cement its place among the college football elite. With Lanning at the helm, the Ducks have perhaps never been closer. And that's really all you can hope for, right? I'm a big believer that if your system is right, if you're doing things the right way, recruiting well, using the portal to your advantage, coaching your guys up, eventually, if you keep knocking and you're knocking at the door, eventually it's going to fly open. Eventually. But Dan Lanning's doing good work. But I like seeing that. I like Dan Lanning. I think he's an incredible motivator. Obviously a good dude, family guy. And he's done a great job of fitting the landscape, the culture down in Eugene, and building up the program. Like, he's been awesome. And he's getting better as a coach. Better between the lines, in-game decision-making. So good to see. So that's a list. I would encourage you to check out that piece at ESPN.com. All right, let's go out to the phones. Pat in Portland wants to chat. Pat, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. I got your note that you sent to the station. It's pretty lengthy, so I haven't had a chance to digest it completely, but I will be in touch. But what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, thank you for that, but that wasn't what I was calling about. I just wanted to touch on 2 things this afternoon. I'm blind for your audience, and I am in a wheelchair, and I live in assisted living, and you had your guest on with the Blazers about the dog activity. I find that so fascinating because being here, we don't get animals, but I have friends that are blind that have guide dogs, and I love having dogs around me. They're so comforting, and right now I have so much stress going on in my life. You know, I've had big dogs and little dogs in the past and had guide dogs, so I think this is really super that you guys are involved with this activity and people getting together and having fun, you know, and getting to meet other people with their, you know, their dogs. Their dogs can be so rewarding, you know, when you have them in your life, as you have mentioned on the show with your dog. You know, I remember when you got him and all the different little stories you tell about it, and it's a good, comforting thing to have when you're by yourself, you know, and they do some of the most craziest fun things, too. So
no, it's true.
That's just a sidebar.
I'm surprised that they don't have someone that brings dogs over like once a month or once a week to the assisted living facility. I'm surprised they don't have people that bring dogs over so you can see them and pet them.
Yeah, it's awesome. But I wanted to talk about the Blazers for a second. You know, we're talking about so much heavy load on the guard position, you know, and if we have an injury or something with forward or a center, you know, we're going to kind of be sunk if we don't get some trade going on. But I'm wondering, out of the 6 guys or so we got, who really has the most potential to show good defense to help out? Because it looks like we're going to be playing a lot of 3-guard play, you know, especially when if a guy needs a break or something, we're going to have to plug in a guard. So, in your mind, and you've seen the team play last year and the guys coming back, who's really going to step up and really play that defense?
Well, that's a great question, Pat. I appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you. And I appreciate the thoughts about animals. Yeah, dogs are the best. They're great companions. They make great friends. Obviously, I love my dog, and many of you have pets that you love as well. And then Pup City's coming up on July 26th over at the Rose Quarter. Well, defense, you're right. It's going to be an issue. The Blazers are going to be a smaller team this year, assuming the roster remains what we see today with, 5 guards and, a smaller team. I look at a couple of key guys that are going to be critical. Well, it's more than just a couple of guys. One, Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams III are vital to their defensive success. They're going to need Clingan in his rim protection and his rebounding. Robert Williams III, very mobile, his ability to protect the rim but also get out. And he led the NBA in three-point block shots last year. So those two guys being available, being healthy throughout the year, and being able to play big minutes is going to be critical, especially Donovan Clingan. Tamani Kamara, the most important defender on the team, I think, because he can defend all 5 spots on the floor. There are times, like we saw in the postseason, where he can defend the 5. He can defend the 4. He can defend any place on the floor, which makes him a valuable commodity. I think Denny Avdia, with more guards on the roster, guys who can be trusted to handle the rock and initiate the offense, it should take some of the load off of Denny to where he's not exhausted and fatigued with the basketball, which could allow him to become an even more effective defender. Because he was carrying quite the load last year, and it was impressive. Drew Holiday is the other critical force because he, too, can defend not just his own position at guard, but he can also defend the 3 small forwards. He's smaller but stout and strong. So I think those are your keys. Obviously, Donovan Clingan and Robert Williams in the paint, around the rim. Tamani Kamara because of his versatility. Denny Avdia having a lesser load in handling the rock, giving him more energy to be more engaged defensively. And, he and Kamara working together, but then also Drew Holiday. Like Tamani can defend multiple spots on the floor and plays much bigger in his size because he's so strong. And then when you need, just an energy guy off the bench, he'll throw his body around. Sidi Sissoko. But City's not a regular rotation guy. He'll play and get an opportunity to play throughout the year when guys get nicked up. And he's, really that energy and defense he brings is nice, so he can be effective at times. But I look at the keys as, Klingon, Tamani, and Drew Holiday. Those guys are going to have to really step it up. And then somehow, some way, this team's going to have to score. Because when you're undersized and probably not going to be as effective defensively, you're going to have to find a way to get points on the board. All right, we'll come back. Brian Noe, Fox Sports Radio. We'll talk ball with him. And then Brad Botkin at 5:20. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right. I get questions about this guy every week. He is my brother from another mother from Fox Sports Radio. The one, the only Brian Noe is back on the show. Bino! What's up, brother?
Chad doing? Always great to be on with you. What are these questions like? Is it just like, is Noe out of his mind? Like what's the tone of these questions that you get?
Lately, it's been, who is he betting on in World Cup action? And someone asked me, who's he pulling for in World Cup action? I said, probably whoever he's got wagers on. That'd be my guess. So have you bet on any of the World Cup action? And if so, have you been successful?
I would be, Chad. I'd be firing away, but I had the worst 36-hour stint of my betting career, and so I punished myself. I lost my cool. It's I don't know what the comparison would be. I'm trying to think of movies. Maybe it was like Denzel in Man on Fire. He kind of just lost his mind. Like that was kind of me. And so I'm like, I'm done until the NFL preseason. So in August, I'll crank it back up. But I'd be firing left and right. I actually would have hit a fair number of bets in the World Cup. Our guy Eric Ringering, by the way, that's the guy you should be talking to. He's made almost $3,000 just betting the World Cup. So he's been on fire betting World Cup action. Yeah.
Does he have like great soccer knowledge, or is he just playing the favorites? What's he doing?
He hit a couple of crazy long shot parlays where he turned like $10 into close to $1,500 or something like that, where it was all the main stars scoring 2 goals apiece. And that hit a couple of times in this World Cup. So he hit on one of those. And I don't know what else he's been doing. He's been stacking them up, though. Hitting a lot of bets there. That old Eric Ringering. Wily betting veteran there. Eric R.
Gosh, I had no idea. I just talked to him the other day. He didn't mention a single word about having great success with the World Cup. He must be trying to keep that one under wraps a little bit. I respect that. Yeah, it's kind of that weird time of the year in sports, where we have Major League Baseball going on. World Cup, for those who are soccer fans, is great. But for people like you and I enjoy watching it. It's intriguing, but I'm just dying for football right now. I just need football in my life. And the good thing is we're just a few weeks away from the Hall of Fame game. And I always feel like when the preseason gets underway that it goes by quick, and then we get right to the regular season.
What a great offseason, right? Where the World Cup has been really, really good. I'm not a big soccer guy, but I do love the World Cup. I'll go all in every 4 years. But, man, like these top countries and the top players. Mbappe scored a goal today. France moves on. Got 20 World Cup goals in 20 World Cup games. That's insane. Messi, we all know his credentials. Holland, Harry Kane. I just love saying the name. They've all been playing their best. And it's a who's who of teams in the quarterfinals here. So it's been a ton of fun. And we go straight from that, I think maybe July 19th-ish, right? That's the last day. That's the World Cup final. And we've got training camp like 2 days later with rookies. You know what I mean? You go seamlessly right into the NFL offseason, the thick of it with training camp. So it's been a great bridge for the summer, what the World Cup has brought.
I agree, especially with it being here in the U.S. I really feel like we've done a great job of hosting World Cup. And what I've enjoyed the most, is listening to different people who have traveled across the world to be here to watch their country play, and just taking in the United States of America for the first time. And they're blown away by how kind the people are, the type of food that we eat, and the size of our plates, and just their travel throughout the country. Like, they're really enjoying it, and I love to hear that, and I think we've been a great host.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. There have been a lot of really cool things that have emerged from the World Cup. So, yeah, I think it's been a grand slam all across the board, and we'll see how it unfolds here. I do think I think FIFA is as shiesty as it gets. That's the subplot where they're like, yeah, let Botkin play. Probably good for ratings. Probably good for the bottom line. And then also, I don't know if you're watching Argentina and the crazy comeback win that they had against Egypt, but Egypt got royally screwed out of the goal. Oh, it was so bad, man. Like,
a penalty on the other end of the field, and they take away the goal. Unbelievable.
I just say yard lines. I know this is a soccer field, but I just say yard lines, where it was pretty much at the goal line, right, of Argentina's end. And there was a foul. There was a foul there. But Egypt goes all the way down to the other end and scores. Chad, are you telling me that if, they kick the ball out of bounds or something just random happens, no big consequence. You tell me they're going to VAR and reviewing that foul at like the goal line of Argentina's end zone. It's just so stupid, man. That was really bad what they stooped to on that one.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. That's what's frustrating about soccer. Like even with offsides, like it's so arbitrary in terms of, how they call it, when they call it. So it's kind of frustrating. But I have found that as I understand the rules better with soccer, just like every other sport, it's all about understanding the rules. Because once you get that down, then you start to understand the strategy and stuff. So it's helped me to enjoy World Cup more this year by kind of diving in and getting a better understanding, a better handle on the rules.
I understand the rules, Chad. It's just I object to a lot of them. I'm just like, how did you guys come up with it? The Botkin thing. Like, first, I don't think that's a red card to begin with. But just the consequences, Chad, it's so punitive. The guy is out for the rest of the game. The U.S. is a man down. You don't even bring someone else in there. And then he's out for the next game. That's insanity to me. I know that's how it works, but I'm like, how did you guys come up with this? I also don't get the penalties in the box, right, where it's happened over and over and over again in this World Cup where it's like, someone from France gets fouled in the box, and Mbappe's just taking the penalty kick. It's like, what? How is that shouldn't the guy who got fouled take the penalty kick? No? Okay, soccer, whatever. I get the rules. I just don't understand how they arrived at these rules. These rules are freaking brutal. They make no sense. It's
crazy. What do you think is best? Like, if you're a man and you're looking to really improve your social life, what do you think would be best? To be a soccer star on the world stage, an NFL quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, an NBA star like Victor Wembanyama, or a hockey star, or maybe Shohei Ohtani in baseball? What do you think what sport, if you're a star on a big stage, gives the best access to improve your social life?
It is soccer by galaxies, Chad. And listen, you know how much I love football and basketball too, but it's not even freaking close. It was like Cristiano Ronaldo. He's the most followed human being on Instagram. The only thing that has more followers than Ronaldo is Instagram itself. That's it. He's the most followed human. He's got like 761-ish million. He's probably up to like 850. This was like last check like 2 days ago. It's crazy. But like, if you look at the NFL and how popular it is in this country, you would have to add up like the NFL's Instagram account, every single team's individual Instagram account, the top 10 or 20 like most popular players in the NFL in terms of their IG followings. You would add all of that up, and it's still not where Ronaldo is. So, yeah, if you're looking for like the ladies of the World Cup, and access galore is a soccer star, especially if you're a good-looking soccer star. Good Lord. I'll tell you a brief story, Chad. You would love this. So I was living in Nashville for a little while, and there was a radio guy in the building. I would go into the building, and I would fill in with Steve Gorman or fill in for Steve Gorman. Steve was the drummer of the Black Crowes. And there was this guy, Wells. He was just on some random music station, and he was on like Love Island or something like that. And we interviewed him on Fox one time, and he goes, "Hey, dude, check this out." And he grabbed his phone, and I don't know if it was IG or X or what it was, Twitter at the time, and he just had all these DMs, Chad. I'm not kidding you. This guy was just like, look at this, and he just goes whoosh with his finger, like, account, message, whoosh, whoosh. This is Wells, a guy who had his 15 minutes of fame. He's not even famous, Chad. And you had all these girls all over the country, beyond the country, hitting him up like, "Hey, Wells, you're kind of cute. Like, are you busy?" So for a soccer star on the international stage, forget it. It's over, man. It's crazy. That's another level of fame. Like, we can't even comprehend that level of fame. It's insanity.
No, I agree with you, too. I think you're dead on that. We're talking with Brian No, Fox Sports Radio. Now, have you had a chance to read Seth Wickersham's piece on Sean Payton and the time he spent with All Access with the Broncos?
I have not. I have not carved out enough time for that. Have you read through this whole thing, Chad?
I have, and when I say you need to carve out time, it is lengthy, like 38 pages worth. Okay. It's truly ridiculous. But what do you think about the idea that Sean Payton had where he legitimately wanted to, after Belichick's time with the Patriots was done, hire Belichick as head coach of the Broncos, he would step aside and become an assistant and be the offensive coordinator and allow Belichick the opportunity to coach until he passed Don Shula. Is that crazy or what?
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That's an amazing little nugget right there. Wow.
Yes.
Crazy. No, I had no idea. There are a lot of, I would say this, the first reaction I have is I would never expect that from Sean Payton, right?
Yes.
Like, and not in a negative way. Sean Payton just carries himself with some swagger, right? He's like, I'm Sean Payton, like my offense. He does not seem like a guy who would just be like, yeah, no, you be the head coach. You get all the accolades. I'll run the offense. We'll just, hopefully stack chips and it'll be all good. He just doesn't strike me as a guy who would do that. So that's my first takeaway is I'm surprised he would say that and want to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. He also, and I like this, but he wanted to motivate his team for the playoff run, so he hired armed guards to bring in $500,000 cash and a Lombardi trophy so that all of his players could see what they were playing for. And I'm like, 500,000 cash? Like, who does that, right? But it's a good reminder that, hey, we're playing for this trophy. We have a chance to immortalize ourselves with a championship. And, oh, by the way, you're going to get some side cash as a benefit if we go out and win the trophy. I love that.
I love that, too. I don't know if he ripped it off because Mike Holmgren did that same thing, and maybe Mike Holmgren ripped it off from someone else. Or well, I don't know. But, that's been done before where I know Mike Holmgren for a fact did that, and I would imagine it was with the Packers. I think he did it way back when he was the Packers guy, and they ended up beating the Patriots in the Super Bowl. I think it was around that time. But, yeah, that's been done before. Like Mike Holmgren stacked Pat Riley did something similar with the Miami Heat, right? So there have been coaches and front office figures who have done that before. And, yeah, there's a wow factor. You just see a stack of $500,000 sitting there like, yeah, you're going to get a share of this. Just win it all. All right, guys, take it away. That's motivation right there for sure.
Yeah, no question about it. Oh, I wanted to ask you, where would you like to see LeBron finish out his career? Do you want it to be back home in Cleveland? Would you like it to be at Golden State with the Warriors? Do you want it to be a place where he has a chance to win? Like, where would you like to see him finish out his career? He's obviously going to play or continue playing, but where would you like to see him finish?
I think Cleveland, just for if I was part of LeBron's inner circle, right? And I'm thinking what would be best for you, what would be best for the brand, all that type of stuff. I would think this, Chad. I think a couple of things. I think Cleveland would be a good spot because you would have a legitimate chance to compete for a championship. You get out of the West. I don't want to make the East sound like it's layup city, but it's easier than the West. So I think Cleveland is in the lead. I would say this. What I'm thinking of, I don't know that this is LeBron's final season. Where if you think about this, Chad, he's coming back for his 24th season. What if he plays 2 more seasons, right? That would be 25. That's a nice little quarter of a century. We've had LeBron in the NBA. Plus, and I don't know if this is on his radar at all. This is just me thinking. But what if the final send-off is LeBron in the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles? What if he plays 1 or 2 more years, doesn't win a championship? That's not what he wants as the final send-off. The final send-off could be playing for Team USA, winning his 4th gold medal. I mean, he's obviously hoping it'll be gold. And, you leave basketball entirely with the American flag around your shoulders. That'd be a pretty good send-off. So it's something to keep in mind. He's certainly playing at a high enough level. It's just a matter of if his body, if he's healthy enough. But I have no question about his game, his ability, his production. It's really just health at this point. But if he's healthy enough, I don't know that this is the last season for him.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think he's going to play. I think 2 more years would put him at 25 seasons in the NBA, which is pretty ridiculous. But that seems like a nice round number, a quarter century in the NBA, and that would set him apart from everybody else. So I would say 2 more years, sign a 2-year deal, 2 more seasons in the NBA, and then he can shut it down.
How crazy would it be, Chad, if LeBron doesn't announce that this is his last season? This is not a farewell tour type thing. And I hate to even say it, but, I mean, injuries are possible, right? What if he got hurt this last season and it ended up being his final season and he didn't get the farewell tour? It'd be pretty crazy if if that worked out that way. But I somehow, some
that
way,
would devastate him. Yeah,
LeBron's like, it's called rehab. I'll be ready for 25 years. It is,
Trust me, he could be in a wheelchair. He could be on crutches. He will get that victory tour. And the more he says he doesn't want it, the more I know he wants it. It's kind of like when athletes say it's not about the money. That's when I know it's really about the money. That's why I respect guys when they come on and say, like I think it was Robert Williams III for the Blazers. At his exit interview this year, they said, what's going to be your main focus for where you're going to sign? He goes, well, money. And I was like, and I love it because,
right, exactly.
Yes, and I have no problem with that because you're just being honest. Like, yeah, I care about getting a good deal, money, and that's fine.
Man, I feel the same way about PEDs. I just wish these guys would own it and say, yeah, my bad. There was some obscure defensive lineman for the New York Jets. He was a lower pick, and he just owned it. He got popped for PEDs, and it was like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, yeah, I'm an idiot. It was stupid. I was trying to cut a couple of corners, and my bad on that. I'm like, thank you. Fine. That's the one guy. We've had Lance Armstrong and Ryan Braun, and the list goes on and on and on. And finally, we had one guy just own it. I would love that if athletes just said, yeah, I'm an idiot. My bad on that.
Yeah.
They're insulting our intelligence otherwise.
They really are. And what I've done, for a long time now is that I just work off the assumption that my favorite athletes are using some form of PEDs or have been for an extended period of time. And I'm not offended by it. Like, I totally get it, right? Like, especially as you start to age in professional sports and you see the younger player who's drafted or coming up, like, there's so much money on the line that if you can take something that allows you to recuperate faster, to be on the field, to be able to work out harder, to keep yourself in a position where you compete. Like, I totally understand why these guys do it. What I don't want is to be lied about. Just come out and be like, yeah, man, I'm going to look for whatever edge I can because I know everyone else around me doing the same thing. I got to keep up. I respect that.
Right. Yeah. And they go the wrong route where it's like they don't want their actual hard work to be completely dismissed. And I get that, but they turn it into living a lie. And it's like, dude, you basically had a syringe hanging out of your body right there. Like, it's clear you were taking PEDs, but no one's believing this whatsoever. But happens time and time again. I think it'd be better just to bite the bullet and be like, yeah, I mean, I was doing it. My bad. Yeah. I think people get so wound up outside of baseball, especially, right? Like, these sports, like, people don't even care if someone's using PEDs
well, of course
in
not.
football. It's crazy.
Well, let's flip it around here for a second. What if I could come to you and say, hey, take these pills, and I can guarantee that you're going to be a top 5 talker in the country on radio?
If it was the exact same way, right, like it's illegal to do that, you're branded a cheater and all this type of stuff. Probably not. If it was the same thing as sports, same thing. Probably not, because I'm just not a liar, Chad. I can't lie,
but you would be tempted to do it.
Sure, you'd be tempted to do it, but I would know where the only way it can go is like you're gonna be at a fork in the road where it's like, do you go forth with the lie because you're living a lie cheating?
Yeah.
Or do you come clean and say, yeah, I was cheating the whole time? And it's like, I don't want to come to that fork in the road. I just don't want that to ever be a choice I'm going to be faced with.
No, I have found in my life, and again, I'm just speaking for me, anytime I lie, it always ends badly. It never works. Like, I never get over because at some point it blows up in my face, like every single time, and at the time I'm like, I don't look back and think, hey, this has failed 100% of the time. What are you doing? I just go forward. And then sure enough, it blows up in my face again. It's like, what am I doing? What are you doing, Chad?
Yeah, dude, you're better off, dude.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, Chad, is I set up my sister and it was an April Fool's prank. And I'm not a liar, Chad. I'll just tell you the truth, even at my own expense. I'll just be like, yep, this is the truth. Yeah, whatever the case may be. But the one April Fool's Day joke, I said that I had a flat tire. And it was this whole thing. Like, she was homeschooling my nephews. They were young at the time. And I had to have this whole story or else she's not coming out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, all right, I called the repair shop. They couldn't make it here. I tried to put on the spare, but the spare is flat. Like, I had to think of every single possible scenario. I'm like, this is exhausting, man. Like, I would need to take 5 naps a day if I was lying. It's crazy what you have to do. And the people that do it often, you got to remember your lies.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep your story straight or it just completely unfolds.
Well, that's how I've gotten myself in trouble with women, the ones that have memories like an elephant. It's like, wait a second, you said this then. What do you mean now? It's like, oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. Well, you see here. Yeah, it's bad. Hey, I want to keep you for the final segment. You good for a few more minutes, my man?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah!
Absolutely.
That's my
I actually
man.
have a brief story about one of your guests next hour.
Okay, well, it's coming up. Brian Noe with a story coming up next here on the Rip City Drive. All right, Brian Noe promised a story about one of my guests, and he's still with us from Fox Sports Radio, Mr. Bino. What you got for me, Bino?
So you've got Brad Botkin on next hour, right?
Love him. Yeah, he's great.
Love Brad. He's the best, man. But Brad Botkin is an honest man. I just wanted to point this out.
Very honest.
I won a bet off of Brad Botkin. This goes way back to when Kevin Durant's big toe was on the three-point line against the Bucks. And I had him on like the next day. And I just said, Brad, you might think I'm crazy, but I actually like the Bucks. I think they're in a better spot to win this series because the Nets were up 3-2. And I wish I would have saved the audio because Brad went crazy. You know, he's passionate, got strong stances, and he's like, you're out of your mind, you're crazy. Like, he just went off, and it turned into a bet. And I can't remember exactly what it was. Like maybe I would imagine the Bucks were, at least 2-1 to come back and win that series. So I was probably like, okay, if the Nets win, I owe you $150. If the Bucks win, you owe me $300. And he was like, you're on. And I tell you, Chad, like as soon as the Bucks won that series, I got a Venmo immediately for $300 from Brad Botkin. Nothing's worse than someone that just welches on a bet. But Brad Botkin, that's an honest man right there. You can trust Brad Botkin.
A man that pays up on his bets is a man that is truthful. That is 100% accurate.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to bring it up. I'll bring it up to him and see what he has to say. He remembers everything, and I love talking with him. I love his energy. I wanted to play this for you. You've probably heard it, but this is Candace Parker talking about the WNBA players voting Caitlin Clark the 11th best guard in the WNBA.
It's also kind of crazy, like, I wholeheartedly believe that there needs to be some rules with the WNBA players because this is getting out of hand. Caitlin Clark voted 11th best guard by WNBA players. That's crazy. Kelsey Plum finished 12th in player rank, but she be percolating all over your defense. You be chasing her downhill off screen.
It's unserious work.
It's kind of crazy. Like I wholeheartedly
unserious work.
I think people need to look at themselves in the mirror and realize, like, man, you got some insecurities if you sitting down and putting Caitlin Clark as the 11th best guard.
Don't you love that? I love the honesty from Candace Parker there. Finally, someone just came out and said it like, hey, stop being so insecure, man. You may not like her, but she's a baller, and the high tide raises all boats.
Yeah, it's insane, man. It's just gotten into such Looney Tunes. Like, what are we doing at this stage, man? It doesn't even begin to make sense. She's a top 3 guard at worst.
Yes.
Like 11th is just insanity. So, the thing that I thought of, Chad, is you wouldn't see this in other leagues. Like, I was thinking about Ohtani.
Yeah.
Right? Tell me if you buy this. What if Ohtani, who's this global star, right? What if MLB players were hating on Ohtani the way WNBA players are hating on Caitlin Clark? And imagine if all of a sudden pitchers are kind of throwing at Ohtani, and maybe he gets beamed every now and then, and MLB's just like shrugging their shoulders like, yeah, nothing to see here. There's no way that would happen. They would protect one of their superstars. I don't know why the WNBA doesn't do a better job of protecting Caitlin Clark. And we're not asking for special treatment. We're just saying if it's a flagrant 2, call it.
Yeah.
Like, no one's asking for anything more than that, but I don't know what it is with the WNBA. They just do nothing. It's crazy.
Yeah, no doubt. I remember, like, some of my favorite things. Like, I remember this video from the World Series back in 2002 where Barry Bonds is at the plate, and he hits a home run down in Anaheim that it was a moonshot, and they panned over to Tim Salmon, and he's like, I've never seen a ball hit that far. And, like, usually athletes, they celebrate the other greats. Now, when they're young and coming into the league, there are vets who might want to show them the ropes and give them a little welcome to the NFL or NBA type moment, but they usually celebrate great talent, which is cool. I wanted to ask you, though, with the preseason coming up, like, what are some of the things or storylines or players that you're looking forward to seeing in the preseason before we get to the regular season action?
Man, well, that's the thing is I don't know how much playing time some of these guys are going to get. It's getting less and less and less. So I'll probably just be rooting for my bets, to be honest with you, Chad. Yes. Oh, man, my guy Bill Krakenberger, professional sports handicapper, we're on Sundays. I'm telling you, Chad, he gets down on the preseason. You know, like you just find edges in the preseason you're never going to find in the regular season or playoffs. So he's firing away. He'll share some of his picks with us, and
awesome.
We're firing away. So I'll probably be rooting for my bets more than anything. But if I can see some of the younger rookies get out there and get a little bit of time, I'll certainly be interested in that. But any of the big name like starters, you're probably not going to see them much at all.
Yeah. That's a very good point. It's so different than when we were kids where, you know, the starters, at least in that, you know, a third preseason game would play a half or more, right? They would get a chance to see our guys. Who do you think's day one started for the Browns at quarterback?
I think it's Deshaun Watson. I think they're going to go with him. Because look at the price they paid for that freaking guy, you know? If all things are equal, you have to start him to see if you can salvage any type of value from what you paid for that guy. So I would start him unless Shedeur Sanders just clearly outdistanced himself in training camp, which I doubt would happen. You start Deshaun. Like, would you give up 3 first-rounders and paid him $230 million guaranteed? You got to start him if it's even. If it's a tie at first base, tie goes to Deshaun Watson in my book.
Yeah, that was the worst trade in sports that I had seen until Nico Harrison decided to ship out Luka to the Lakers for nothing, right?
Right, yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing is we all make fun of the Browns now looking back on it, but the Falcons were in that.
Yeah.
You know, they were in a bidding war. There were other teams that were trying to get Deshaun Watson also, and they lost out to the Browns because the Browns offered more, but like these teams that they just get forgotten about, they wanted him just as badly as the Browns did. They just didn't land him.
That's true. All right, you can hear him on Fox Sports Radio right here on Rip City Radio 620. Hey, Brian, I appreciate you, my friend. I love talking ball with you. Enjoy your afternoon. Enjoy your weekend, and you and I will catch up soon.
Man, Chad Doing, always great to talk ball with you. It's a beautiful day whenever that happens, man. I hope you have a great evening. I'll catch you soon, man.
All right, brother. There's Brian. No, I love talking ball with him. We'll keep things rolling. Brad Botkin, the loser of the bet to Brian, knows coming up at 5:20. You can jump on board at 503-248-0620. You got the Rip City Drive on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, it's now 5 o'clock. Chad here. Hope you're enjoying your Thursday afternoon, my friends. Trailblazers will kick off their Summer League action tomorrow night down in Las Vegas at the Pavilion. They're taking on the Suns. Tip-off at 8. It'll be on ESPNU. We'll talk some NBA with Brad Botkin. He's going to join the Rip City Drive coming up at 5:20. According to Shams, the Kawhi Leonard trade with the Clippers and Raptors is on hold as the NBA continues their investigation into the aspiration company, and if the Clippers tried to circumvent the salary cap. World Cup action, France advances with a 2-0 victory over Morocco. Spain and Belgium meet tomorrow at noon in Los Angeles at SoFi. That game will start at 11:30. You can hear it live right here on Rip City Radio 620. iHeart is your home for World Cup action. Checking the Major League scoreboard right now, the Mariners are down in Miami taking on the Marlins, and right now Seattle on top and trailing now 6-1 into the fourth. I just watched a live concert on YouTube of Fleetwood Mac. I forgot the year they put on the show, but really good. Yeah, classic Mariners, too. I had the scoreboard up on my computer, so when I was doing the update, last I had checked, it was 1-0. And then when I hit the screen again to look at the score, right when I gave it, it reset and flashed Marlins up 6-1. Yeah, classic Seattle baseball right there. Into the fourth down in Miami and Seattle down 6-1. Telephone number here at the Rip City Drive, 503-248-0620. I just saw this tweet that came out from Bite-Sized Nostalgia. And it's got a classic picture from the mall in the 80s. And it just says, hanging out at the mall and then going to the movies were some of the best memories when I was a teen. Those were the best memories. The malls I enjoyed going to, Cinderella City, and I think it was Southwest Plaza when I was living in Colorado. I enjoyed staying at home because I had a little motorcycle. We lived up on Conifer Mountain, which was just outside of Denver. 15 to 20 minutes, not far, but we lived on top of a mountain. I think the last time my dad and I went up there, we looked at the altitude. The house where we lived was 9,600 feet above sea level. So we were on top of this Conifer Mountain. So I like to be up there to play because, it's one thing. Like I grew up in the country in Oklahoma when I was younger, but then when we moved to Colorado, it was like being out in the wilderness because we lived literally up on a mountain. And there were homes up there, but, it's like I could go outside and I'm like on the side of a mountain, right? Literally, that was our backyard was, trees and a mountainside with a steep slope. And so I could just go out and venture around, and I had a few friends up there, and, we'd go climb rocks or climb mountains or whatever. Like, it was an adventure. So my mom, when she would go into town, she didn't like to go in by herself. So she would, come to me like, hey, I'm going into the mall. Would you like to come with me? I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go play. And she's like, I'll give you money for the arcade. And then that quickly changed my thought process. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Because I just like hanging out in the arcade. That was one of the big things. I don't know where do kids hang out today? Well, back in the day at the mall, they always had the food court. The food court was a big deal. And I'm trying to think of some of the big ones. They had a McDonald's, the Sbarro pizza was a big thing. I loved that. So there were a couple of things. What was the name of that Mexican place? Yeah, there were like 3 places in the food court that I loved going to. But the arcades where I wanted to hang out because they had all the classic 8-bit games back in the 80s. Yi Ar Kung Fu was like my absolute favorite. The Star Wars game was great, but Yi Ar Kung Fu and Karate Champ were like my 2 primary games. And I was dominant at both because I played them so much. And then later on, I got into the sports games like football and Tecmo Bowl came out, and the arcade game was terrific. But I loved hanging out in the arcade, and I would spend hours there. And so my mom would give me I don't know, like a $5 or a $10 bill, and I would just change that into quarters, and then I was dialed in for a long period of time. But what I loved doing was, there were times where we'd go in and, we'd get dropped off at the mall, and me and my buddy Dayton or my buddy David, we'd go hang out in the arcade and play, and then they had the theater right there in the mall, so we'd go catch a movie. I remember seeing Rocky IV was a big one. I think I've shared that story before. We watched it. It was so great, and my buddy Dayton was like, if we just sit here long enough, it's going to come back on. Sure enough, it did. We went back-to-back viewings of Rocky IV, which was terrific. Karate Kid 2, I saw at the mall, with the Peter Cetera on the soundtrack. And that was a big movie. Karate Kid was a great movie. I love, and Karate Kid 2 was awesome. But I remember seeing that at the mall. That was like a big adventure. And movies back then weren't much. You were like $5 or whatever it was, $3 if you go in during the matinee time. So it wasn't too bad. I loved doing that. But the mall, hanging out at the mall was great. You had the food court, you had the arcade, you had the movie theater. Like everything you needed to be a baller was right there. So I don't know. That was good. But my mom could bribe me. She could convince me to do that. And then what I would do when we moved out here, like when I started working, Red Robin over there right next to Vancouver Mall, that was my first job. Well, a lot of times, like when I'd go into work on Saturday or Sunday, I wouldn't start until like 4 or 5. So I would just get dropped off at the mall, and I'd roll up to the arcade and play football for an hour or so, and then I'd go over to work. Like I enjoyed doing that. That was a lot of fun. Go to the mall, get the video games in, and then head to work. Like that was an adventure for me. So I don't know. I don't know where kids hang out now. Like, I watch my daughter, and like she's always on like, she's always FaceTiming with her friends, or now her boyfriend, unfortunately. But the FaceTime is a big deal. But she likes to go to the mall. They'll go shopping once in a while. They go to, what are those things called? Escape rooms. She'll go see a movie once in a while. It's just, I don't know, it's a little bit different. I don't see kids out playing like the way it used to be when we were younger, because we'd go play hoop all the time. During football season, we'd go up to the water tower and play football. Or sometimes we just go out and go on an adventure. That whole area where the Washington State Vancouver campus is now, like it's all filled in, and it's great. It's a great area. I went to school there, and they got all these different, paved pathways and where you can ride your bike or go on a walk. And I see a lot of people down there with dogs. But before that university went in, it was just land. And it was sweet because there's like a creek bed down there. And my brother and I would take our motorcycles over there once in a while, but you had to watch out because the guy who owned the land, like if he knew you were out there and he caught us a couple times, he'd get really pissed and he would like shoot rock salt at you and stuff. He was crazy, but we used to go down there all the time. And, as long as we weren't out there on the motorcycles, he never knew we were out there, but great place to go exploring. I liked, bumping around and exploring, finding different, little creek beds or river beds or whatever. But I don't know. That was fun. But going to the mall and the movies was big time right there. I'm sure any of you my age, you remember those times. It was great. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. Brad Botkin's going to join us coming up here in about 5 to 10 minutes. I want to get his take on Ja. Brad's really sharp, really smart. We'll see what he thinks about the value that Portland got in return. I guess what I'm trying to think. Like, if the Blazers aren't going to make another big move, and maybe you guys have insight in this, how are they going to make that work? Like, do you go with the 3-guard lineup? Can you put Drew Holiday at the, can he play? You could probably put him at the 3 once in a while because he's good enough to defend that position. Do you start Ja and Dame? It would seem like that would probably be the case. You're obviously going to have to go Denny, Tamani, and Klingon because you need the defense from those 3 guys. I just don't know how it's all going to... The fit of the trade is what doesn't make sense. The value makes a lot of sense. But the fit, I just don't see how it works. And defensively, I think Dwight pointed this out yesterday. Last year, their defense was pretty good at times. At times, it was their calling card. But I don't know if that's going to be the case, being a little undersized this year. So, we'll see if they make any other adjustments. They're going to have to add another body to the roster for sure, but the big trade or the setup, we all thought when it went down with Morant, it's like, okay, this doesn't make sense. They must be getting ready for another move. I don't know if that other move is coming. But I do think that if you look at the Blazers right now, there's not a move out there that they could make that would be available that would turn them into a championship contender. So And I know because I've talked to a few people, like they're in a position to where they have flexibility. They can be aggressive and make a big move if the right one comes along. But they also are in a position where they don't have to do anything. They can remain patient in their process, continue with the internal development with their young core, and continue to press forward. And then when the right deal comes along, you pounce on it, right? So I think it's I had to take a step back and realize that even if they do come to camp with the roster as is, they're under no pressure to make something happen today. They don't have to. They don't have to use the MLE if they don't want. They don't have to make that next move. They can just continue to remain patient and continue with the internal development of that young core. And really, I can't emphasize enough. I've been talking about it for a couple of years, but it's critical that Scoot and Shaden develop into big-time players. That they really need that because Drew and Dame are getting older. They're not going to be around forever. So they need those guys to develop. So I would just continue to focus on internal development and realize that they're still young for the most part. And then when that opportunity comes along to pounce and get the right deal, you can do that. So that is another way of looking at it. There's not a move that they could make today that's going to turn them into a title contender. So they don't have to rush to try and sacrifice those Milwaukee assets, right? So I would just continue to remain patient and then, see what deals will come along. But they don't have to rush and go do something right now. But with the roster being what it is today, if that's what it is when camp kicks off, like how do you make it work with 5 guards and Denny Avdia? So I can't wait to get Brad Botkin's thoughts on that. We'll also get some insight on him from, where LeBron James is going to finish out his career. I'm curious about that. He's also been playing a lot of golf, so we'll talk some golf with him. I think he was in a scramble today, and he and I were texting back and forth about how crazy the game is. How you can be in the middle of one of the greatest rounds of your life, and then it can go sideways in a heartbeat. That happened to me today. I played really well, made some really good decisions, made some great shots, and I had 2 holes where I got snake bit on. And both were a result of me not committing to the swing and decelerating. I hate it when I do that. All right, Brad Botkin's coming up next. What is the name of that? Why can't I think of the name of that Mexican restaurant in the mall we used to go to all the time? Yeah, the food court was awesome. You get pizza. What was the name of that restaurant? Dang it. I hate it when things escape me like that, but those are the 2 big malls in Denver, Cinderella City and Southwest Plaza. I did run into a couple of Broncos at Southwest Plaza when I was younger, too. That was cool. Jim Ryan was really nice. All right, Brad Botkin's up next. You got the Rip City Drive here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, I figured out the name of that restaurant from the 80s at Cinderella City. I'll share that with you here in a few minutes. Our next guest, my favorite NBA writer, works for CBS Sports, and he joins the Rip City Drive once again. Brad Botkin is with us. Now, Brad, I'm sure we'll get to the NBA, but the main thing I wanted to talk about with you today is golf. You were out there on the course today for a little scramble tournament. How'd it go?
I'm just on my way back, and my clubs are going on Facebook Marketplace. This game is an absolute mess. You know the thing that this stupid game does, though? It's like online slot machines that they know they have to let you win your last hand so that you'll ante up again. I chipped in on 18, which the gods just always find a way to have you hit your best shot on the last hole so that you have to go pay the green fee next time. It's unbelievable.
All right, so
unbelievable.
Explain this to me, because you and I were discussing this the other day, and it's what drives me crazy about the game. I've never played a sport where you can be in a groove for 5, 6, 7, 8 holes, or 9 holes in, and everything is just fine, and then all of a sudden it could be a bad lie, it can be a bad shot, and then it sends you into a tailspin. Like, I've never experienced anything like it, man. It's crazy.
It's not for me. It doesn't even have to be a bad lie. My head will just start. Oh, my grip doesn't feel right. And it's the same grip I've been taking for the past 6 holes. But all of a sudden, my grip feels wrong, and I'm twisting. All of a sudden, my club's coming down like a ceiling fan. Like, it feels open, and I'm trying to close it. Then it feels closed, and I'm trying to open. I'm absolutely guessing. I'm telling you, Chad, there are days for 5 holes, I'll look like I'm looking up where the U.S. Open qualifiers are. I'm hitting missiles. And then on the 6th hole, it looks like it's the first time I've picked up a club. Like the discrepancy between my good and bad shots, it's like, when Steph Curry misses, it's a little bit off. I go from like hitting 10 threes in a row to like shooting it into the crowd. Like, I don't know how it swings so much.
Dude, I love hearing this, because everything you just described is exactly what I experience. And usually for me, it comes down to the same thing. It is my grip, it is my setup at address, and the club face control. And when that feels good, I feel good. When something feels off, I usually start to get too handsy and it goes sideways, and you start hitting some of those wicked shots. I don't understand it.
But you would think after all these years, you would figure out what doesn't feel right. Like, I'm standing over the ball, and it's just like this. It's like God decides whether it's the same stance, same lie, same grip, but God just decides if he's going to let you feel the same way about it. It's insane.
Dude, I'm telling you, every morning I get up and I go to the course, like, I go and I get warmed up and I got a little routine, and I'm like, okay, what do we got today? It's like every day is a bit of a mystery, because you don't know what swing you're going to have that day, and you got to figure it out. It's really bizarre, and it drives me mad.
But it's good. It's good to have in our line of business, because a lot of our job is critiquing very, very good athletes, and
Yes.
there is some humility involved. Like, when I'm standing over the ball and I don't feel good, like, take it easy on Mitchell Robinson at the free throw line. The guy's going through the same issues. I mean, if I can't stand over a 7-iron in a 4-man, 3-club scramble, how do I expect Mitchell Robinson to just get up stone cold and start knocking free throws down? It's like, knock yourself down a peg. We're all human. That's the good thing that golf does for me.
Gosh, it's so true. Like, when I'm standing over a 5-footer for a birdie putt and I totally choke on the putt, that's the same thing Mitchell Robinson is feeling. Because when he goes to the line in the NBA Finals, he's sitting there thinking, great, I'm going to miss, I'm going to screw it up for my team.
Yes.
And he goes mental, right? Like,
And he's feeling around on the ball.
Yes.
His grip doesn't feel right. His head's off. But I guarantee you, in practice, he's like us for 5 holes. I bet you he's shooting 80% in practice. And he gets up in the game, and he's just like, what is happening? His head is everywhere. His hands are sweaty. He doesn't want to shoot. It's like someone who takes 10 practice swings. Like, if I was Mitchell, the 10-second clock would just be running out. And then I would just drop the ball and not even take the free throw.
Brad Botkin is with us. Where were you playing at the other day when you were texting me, when you were on the verge of looking up the U.S. Open qualifiers, and then you wanted to stab yourself with a club?
Yeah, at the course, same thing. I was through 12 holes. I was 4 over, and a good 4 over, like hitting every green, tap in pars, every drive, and it's like a money 4 over. And I ended up with like 3 triples on the last 6 holes. I'm hitting the cart shack. I'm like, nobody's safe. All of a sudden, nobody's safe. 3 holes over, I'm yelling 4. 2 holes ago, I'm hitting 8-foot birdies. I just don't. And I got this Bend member guest tournament next week. I called my buddy. I said, dude, it's time to start drinking. Like, we're not winning this thing. I was going in with high hopes. Now I'm just asking him, what kind of drinks do they got on tap? Is it an open bar, cash bar? What's the deal? Because the golf is going to be brutal.
Oh, gosh, it's so great. Brad Botkin, CBS Sports, is with us. John Morant is with the Trailblazers. Like, how do you read that trade?
Well, we talked about this last time I was on. I think you have to take risks now because the Spurs and the Thunder have set the bar so high in the West, and the Knicks have done the same in the East, that none of these teams have the ability with where they currently stand to make a legitimate run, barring just hoping for the Spurs or the Thunder to get injured. And so you've got to take a chance. You got to go buy low on something. They did that with Ja. The Timberwolves did that with LaMelo Ball. And look, I was actually just doing my power rankings, my pre-LeBron signed power rankings. So we'll see how much he influences these rankings. But it is crazy how many good teams there are and the depth in the talent. I've got the Blazers. I'll have to check it, but I think I've got them somewhere around like 16th or 17th. And we're talking about a team with Denny Avdia, Ja Morant, Damian Lillard, Klingon, Sharp, Scoot, Kamara. I mean, who am I missing? They're like a really, really good team. I would venture to say this is like a conference finals, borderline finals team in like the early 90s. I'm trying to think who like the third best player on like the 93 Suns was. Like Dan Marley or Brian Russell on the Utah Jazz. Mm-hmm. I mean, back in the day, if you had 2 good players, you were in the finals. Now the Blazers are rolling out Ja Morant and Damian Lillard and Denny Avdia, and they're probably a play-in team. Like it's the depth of the talent is crazy. Like the Magic have Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner and Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs, and they're a play-in team. Like it's really, really crazy when I started doing these power rankings. The Utah Jazz would be stacked 10, 15 years ago. Jaren Jackson, Markkanen, George. I mean, they just drafted the Peterson guy. They'd be stacked. The Lakers with Luka and Austin Reeves and Walker Kessler, they're probably a first round out. It's so what I make of the Blazers is they're a really talented, deep team that have every reason to believe that they can go in and compete. They got the momentum going last year. They took a buy low. Hopefully he hits with Ja Morant. They've got all this reason for optimism, and yet if you stand back objectively, it's very difficult to imagine them being a top 6 seed.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah, very difficult.
It's just the nature of the league.
So how do you think a coaching staff will take when you have let's say the roster is what it is when they hit camp, and you've got 5 guards and you got Denny Avdia, who is really good at facilitating and initiating the offense. So how does a coaching staff go about finding the right combinations of players in terms of who starts, who finishes, and how things are going to work out on both ends with the offense and the defense? How do you do that with a roster imbalance like the Blazers have?
Well, it's a good thing it's not my job, and I'm going to keep when the lineups don't work, I'm going to keep in mind how my 7-iron feels in my hands when I can't hit it, because it's not an easy job. I don't know what to do,
hard.
But all reporting indicates that they're going to start Morant and Lillard, so I've been sort of waiting for a Sharp or a Scoot deal. I don't know if Scoot, who really started some momentum last year and started to turn a corner, had some really great playoff moments and stretches, does he want to go into what next year is going to be his free agency year playing 12, 13 minutes a game because the depth chart has just gotten so crazy in the backcourt? He just paid Shaedon Sharp $90 million. He's gonna be now behind Lillard and Morant and Holiday. So I'm still waiting for a subsequent move. It's sort of sitting there waiting to happen to get rid of some of that backcourt depth. If it doesn't happen, it's sort of a good problem to have unless you're Scoot Henderson. But they're going to have to figure out, for me, their top 3 guys clearly to handle the ball are Morant, Lillard, and Avdia. And Avdia is just such an unbelievable straight-line driver that it's very difficult to take the ball out of his hands. It's sort of easy to say let's let him be a secondary creator. Let's go back to just run and pick and roll with Dame, and Denny will get the ball on against the rotating defense, and he'll drive. But, man, he had a lot of success at the top of the key, looking straight downhill in the middle of the floor with 2 ways to go in a straight line. That was a big-time advantage for him last year, and John Morant can't play off the ball. So I know Dame can do it. He wasn't maximized doing that in Milwaukee. That was part of the problem there. So they have a bunch of talented guys, but it's the same thing that I think Philadelphia is going to deal with Jaylen Brown and Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. Who plays off the ball? And so that's going to be something that probably the biggest thing that Portland's going to have to figure out is, one, their depth chart in the backcourt, and 2, it's easy to say we'll share the ball and we'll move it around and we'll get out in transition and, whoever's got the best shot takes it. But there's something to be said for that reliability of knowing where you're getting the ball on the floor, what time in the shot clock, and Advia really established that last year. So they're going to have to figure out that there's only one ball balance.
Brad Botkin is with us. Where would you like to see LeBron finish out his career?
Come on, let's do it. It's not going to happen, but I can't figure out why I guess I don't want to speak to people's personal things. So Cleveland is home, and maybe he wants to go back there, and they do have a good team. I would have some of the same fit issues with them. James Harden can't play off the ball, so now what? You're going to have Donovan Mitchell be your secondary guy, and LeBron's going to be a corner shooter. If you look at the Lakers plus minus last year with Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic on the court without LeBron, it was like plus 14 or 15. They killed teams. When you add the third guy, that becomes pretty sort of redundant in terms of skill set, and LeBron is either just a weird floor spacer or a third wheel on ball guy. Their on-off splits really plummeted. And so I wonder if it's going to be the same thing if he goes to Cleveland, where it's like Donovan he's at his best when he's taking over with the ball. James Harden, of course, needs the ball. He doesn't do anything off ball. LeBron needs the ball, and you've got this redundancy with Allen and Mobley in the middle. I see a redundant roster that isn't going to make the best out of one another. It'd be sort of a my turn, your turn roster. But, if that's his home and he wants to go there, I would be fearful of going back to the buffet one too many times. I've used this analogy a number of times. I probably used it on this show, but when you had a great meal at your first trip through the buffet, and then you even made a second trip through, and that was even good. Dude, it's like the third trip to the buffet is a bad deal. Even if you get the same steak, the same potato, the same dessert, you're going to barf it up. It's too much. And I think LeBron barfs up a third trip to Cleveland. I think they go out in the first or second round, and he sort of ruins the memory of 2016. It's the highest note he could have gone out on. I wouldn't want to go back to that.
I agree. You're right. The law of diminishing return does apply to the buffet. So are you going to make it to Portland when you go to Bend, or are you just going to be in the Bend area?
No, I'm just in Bend. It's a 4-day tournament. Portland's 3 hours away?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's a 3-day. I mean, dude, I got to get this right. I can't believe at this age it's supposed to be like a fun, leisurely game, and I'm going to come home and I'm going to be moody with my wife, and I'm going to try to find some stupid Netflix show to take my mind off it like I just pulled a Van de Velde in a real tournament. I didn't. It was a 4-man scramble that you could only use 3 clubs in. I was putting with my 9-iron. I should not be taking it seriously, but I am. As soon as I get off this call, my phone's probably going to be thrown. I'm going to be trying to sell my clubs. I hate this freaking game.
Dude, I cannot wait to talk to you after the tournament to see how things go in Bend. That is going to be an epic conversation.
We should do a show. 13th hole. I'll do it from the course. I'll call you. I'll probably be 4 or 5 drinks in. I'll be about 9 over. It'll be a total mess. And I'll just be like, look, let's give people a real glimpse of what the member guest is going on here.
You know what's amazing? You've given me the best piece of advice today. I'm going to remember now every time I see Mitchell Robinson or some elite athlete in a high-leverage situation struggling with the things that they struggle with.
You know what he's going through, man.
Yes.
You know what he's going through.
Yes, because I went through the same thing this morning.
Yeah. Because it doesn't – the act doesn't change. Mitchell Robinson is shooting from 15 feet. His feet are in the same place. The ball is in the same place on his hands. Yet every time he goes up to shoot, it feels different. Every time. And he's just guessing. He's guessing. And every once in a while it feels good. It's like, whoa, that was easy. Why can't I do that every time?
There's nothing worse. I hate that feeling when you are on your takeaway and you know that everything you just described where the club face feels either closed or open and you're not quite sure, but you know it's not going to go well. Like I hate that sensation of not feeling normal. I hate it.
I'm telling you, if I was, it's the next closest thing to the yips. It's like we're going to have to give Rick Ankiel a call, where like you take the club, this is where you take the club back and then you just stop the swing and you keep doing that over and over because you keep getting to the top like, no, that ain't right. That ain't right. And it's like, buddy, you got to take the second half of the swing here. Dude, it's just awful.
You know what we are? We are Steve Sachs trying to throw the ball to first base. That's what we are.
Yeah, we are. Oh. We totally, dude. I mean, does Chuck Knobloch play golf? Can he deal with this? I think we're all, they say like everybody's like one step from being a murderer. If you dig into the psychology, it's like everybody is one step from going full Rick Ankiel.
There's no question. Well, it's like the other day.
An absolute thin line.
Yes, just like in that extra, that playoff with Scheffler when he missed that short putt last week. People are like, how could that happen? I'm like, I know how it can happen. Hey, I've got plenty of things.
I'll show you. I'll send you a video. I'll show you exactly how it happened.
Dude, you're the best, man. Brad, good luck with your mental game, and I can't wait to hear about your trip to Bend. And by the way, I know you don't want to hear this right now, but Bend, have you been there before?
I've been there. It's gorgeous. I want to move there. In fact, when I retire, I think that is where I'm going to move.
Does your wife like it there?
Yeah, she loves it. I mean, we're California people. The breweries, the river, the outdoors. Florida's just flat and beach. We're gonna end up there. We have a bunch of friends there.
Yeah, and you know how many exotic pets are running around in Bend? 0.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right,
you know where I
dude.
went though yesterday, dude?
Where?
I'll send you a video. I went to. Have you ever seen Something About Mary?
Yes.
So you know the scene where they're at the driving range and Matt Dillon's hitting on Cameron Diaz.
Yes.
I went to the driving range. It's right by my house. I didn't know. Yeah, dude, I hit off Cameron Diaz's mat, and of course I was smoking balls thinking I was going to go kill this scramble tonight. I'll send you a video. Yeah, I hit off Cameron Diaz's mat.
That is awesome. I got to see it.
Yeah.
All right, dude, you're the man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
Gosh, I love Brad Botkin. How many people out there who play golf can relate to everything he just broke down? He's about to lose his flipping mind. And that's what the game does to you sometimes. I told you, I went on that day before yesterday. I was out there on the practice round with my coach. And I had no idea until he showed me that my lead foot was in front of my trail foot. So my feet were not parallel to my target line. Well, needless to say, that doesn't work. Well, I had no idea I was doing it. And had he not pointed it out, when he whipped out the alignment sticks, I wouldn't have known. The game's, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Why did I have to choose that? It's like a crazy mistress, like a crazy girlfriend is what it is, golf. There are some days where it's like, oh, I need more of this. And then there's days where I'm like, what the bleep is going on out there? All right, we'll keep things rolling. Rip City Drive. Big thanks to Brad Botkin. Right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, I figured out the name of that restaurant at Cinderella City, the Mexican spot. Just got a message from Tony out in Boring. He said, just text Brad, the check is in the mail. What a great segment. I especially like the part in the beginning where you asked him about how he felt about Morant coming to Portland, and he showed that honesty Bino was talking about and saying you asked him the last time he was on with you. I don't even remember asking him that before. I talked to Brad so much I couldn't remember. Did I have him on right after the trade? I can't remember. Anyways, whatever. He shared his thoughts. I just want to talk to him about golf. Him going off about the golf game was amazing. I love Brad Botkin. I really do. That guy is so good. And I got him in contact with my boss and a couple other people. Like, he's one of those guys where he needs like a bigger platform. He needs to be, he could do so much more than just what he does for CBS, which is great. But that he's a budding superstar. He just needs the right opportunity. I love Brad. So good. All right, so I got this message. This came in from my buddy Chris. And he said, is that Casa Bonita from South Park? And then he also mentioned Orange Julius. Orange Julius was a big deal back in the day. I remember that at all the malls, Orange Julius. Not Casa Bonita. Now, I know Casa Bonita because they had one in Tulsa where I grew up. And we'd go there, and it was like, it was amazing because you would go in. They had an arcade. They had like cliff divers. And I think the one in Denver now has been made. I think it's off Colfax. Anyways, I've been there. Me and my buddy Josh have gone to Casa Bonita recently when we were in Denver for a Bronco game. But I think it's now like a historical site, so it's going to remain forever. And I did a field trip there in the 6th grade when I was living in Colorado. Casa Bonita, you got to go just for the experience to see what it's all about. But back in the day, that was like, it was bomb. But the restaurant I was thinking of that I couldn't think of was Taco Bueno. And then I found this little, the AI mode on Google is pretty cool, but it says, for Denver area locals and 1980s mall goers, the Taco Bueno located inside Cinderella City Mall in Inglewood, California, holds legendary status. At the height of the mall's popularity, the Taco Bueno was a beloved fixture, offering shoppers a quick Tex-Mex fix in the midst of a massive multi-level mega mall. And it says a look back at Cinderella City. The 70s and 80s were the golden age for Cinderella City on Hampton Avenue, and Taco Bueno was a highly frequented dining destination right alongside other mall icons like Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor and around the corner. Connection to Casa Bonita. During this exact era, the parent company that owned the iconic landmark Casa Bonita also owned Taco Bueno. I did not know that. They shared similar Tex-Mex recipes and were highly successful in the region. In the 1980s, mall patrons flocked to the location for their signature freshly made tortilla chips, creamy mucho nachos, and classic crispy tacos. And that was my thing, too. Back then, before I cared about what I ate, I just wanted to eat a lot of everything, the mucho nachos. And it says the nostalgia factor. Cinderella City was unique because it featured an underground low level known as Cinder Alley, which included a giant arcade, comic book store, and magic shop near the food court. The giant arcade was awesome, and a comic book store. Card stores, like for those of you who were into like ball cards and comic books, just the smell when you walked into one of those stores was like, I can't explain it, but you know it when you smell it. Taco Bueno was one of the go-to places to grab a bite either before or after hanging out in the alley or browsing the massive anchor stores like JCPenney. The mall saw a downturn in the late 80s and was eventually demolished in the late 90s, but the memory of grabbing a meal at the specific Taco Bueno remains a core part of Denver 1980s pop culture. There you go. Pretty good. And what was that place in Delta Park? Was that the Taco House? What was the name of that place? I used to go there and eat. My buddy Jeff, his dad, would take us down to go watch the horse races at Portland Meadows. And then we'd stop there at the Taco House or whatever that place was called. I think it was a Taco House. I don't think it's still there, but it used to be there, right there in Delta Park. You know, a lot of the places. What was the name of the place That's right off in Jantzen Beach, and they had the clock. You could go there. It was open late. I don't know if it was 24 hours or not, but we'd go there for coffee and pancakes late at night when we were out there cruising. What was the name of that spot? I can't think of it now. Waddles. That's the name of the spot. Waddles. Yeah, things were cool. Jantzen Beach, it was like the mall that never was. They used to have a theater down there. I went to go see a couple of movies at Jantzen Beach when they had that movie theater down there. What did I see down there? Was it Wayne's World? I remember going on a date down there, going to see a movie at Jantzen Beach. I used to go eat at the Brickstones over there at the hotel, too, back in the day. Anyhow, there you go. A little trip down memory lane. The arcades were awesome. Quarter. My favorite were like the youth group nights where they would rent out an arcade, and they would just load up each of the games with a bunch of credits, and you could play without dropping the quarters in. I was like, whoa, I have seen the top of the mountain, and it is good. Love those experiences. And Tony sent me he sent me an old school Nintendo with a bunch of games on it. It's got the chip in there with all the games. So he got me hooked back on Contra. And I played it until I was able to get through the whole game and finish it without dying. Very, very difficult to do, but I did it. Great game. All right, big thanks to our guest today. We had a chance to talk about Pup City coming up July 26th. Really love that. Austin Bergquist from the Trailblazers. Big thanks to Brian No, Fox Sports Radio, and, of course, Mr. Brad Botkin, who was awesome. Big thanks to Brendan Slaughter for engineering the program. You guys have a great night. I appreciate you. And we'll be back with the Rip City Drive tomorrow at 3 here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.